and welcome back to Salmon's Pizzeria for another Championship Penitentiary episode. I am once again back as your host and making a return after last week's humiliation. We have Kieran. How are you, Kieran?
Aye, all right. Delighted to be back on. Talking about a slightly more positive result than the humbling up at McDermott's Park, but aye, good to be on nonetheless. Good to be back. Discussing, not a Thistle defeat, I suppose, but aye, good to be back on nonetheless.
It's good to have you back. All the others are busy, so we're back to last season's consistent duo. So we might as well start off with how we started off last week, where we have a cooperation agreement update. As mentioned last week, Reef had a vote and the results were announced. Well, it has been officially confirmed by the club that Reef will have a cooperation agreement with Rangers. The other cooperation agreement is St Johnston, who got themselves confirmed with Hearts, and this already caused some problems because during last week they brought in Adam Forrester on loan, and he wasn't part of the squad for the game against Ross County that we'll get onto in a minute. But then he's just been recalled. He was at St Johnston for 5 days and he's been taken back by Hearts, which is a right laugh. So Kieran, what are your thoughts on the whole cooperation agreement thing? Because Thistle haven't seemed to be linked with anyone.
Nah, as of the moment, we haven't really. I mean, we were kind of speaking off air, me and Callum before we came on tonight, and kind of, I think I don't really have any thoughts on it really. I think it's just because it's not really affecting Thistle, so to speak. But on the outside looking in, I swear, I remember like as soon as it was linked that there was a cooperation agreement with Rafe and Rangers. Rafe, sorry, were instantly linked by loaning in Findlay Curtis, I think it was.
Aye.
So I mean, that tells you what you need to know already. But I, as you said as well earlier, it's got its drawbacks too, and with the St Johnstone and Hearts situation with Adam Forrester, and obviously there's a bit of a situation there where he's just been recalled back, which is it's kind of a bit confusing, a bit bizarre. But aye, I suppose it can be a good thing, you know what I mean? If there is good talent there for teams to pick up from, your teams like your Hearts, your Rangers, and your Celtic as well. I think is it Ayr United that's
Aye,
cooperating with
got one with
Celtic?
Celtic.
Yeah, which obviously makes sense, considering who Ayr United's manager is. With that, but aye, if there's talent there, for these teams to pick up, then aye, fair enough. I can see that, but then you've got the argument of it just becoming a Rangers B and a Celtic being a Hearts B, and that's kind of an argument which a lot of people, I think, including myself, and I guess we don't want it to get that way. When it's just becoming B teams, you know what I mean? Thistle ourselves, we've picked up a few team players from Celtic and whatnot. We've picked up like Sosa and Ben McPherson on loan. Like Sosa, I think's a permanent. And we've got Ben McPherson on loan as well as Josh Clark too on loan for Celtic. And I mean, if there is talent there, as I said, if there is talent there to be picked up, then fair we to say no. But there's certainly some drawbacks to it too. I don't know how you feel about it, especially with your team being affected by it. Your team is cooperating with Rangers, Callum. So how do you feel about it yourself?
Yeah, it's like I think I talked about it last week, but I did say that when it comes to the whole cooperation agreement, I'm not a massive fan of the idea. But when it got put to a vote as to whether or not they're going to go with Rangers, it was just a case of, well, Rangers are the second biggest club in the country. They're going to have one. They have one of the best youth academy systems, even though they don't really make much use of it. So it made sense in the effect of, well, we can choose the players that we want. So it's a case of, well, if we want players that are currently residing in the Rangers B team, then I don't see why not we should take them. It's a good way of filling out the squad. Of course, if you're lower down, then they're going to be far more likely to get actual first team minutes. But as you were saying, that boy that they linked with Finley Curtis, I think he was linked before this cooperation agreement was confirmed anyway. So I have a feeling
Mm.
it's been beforehand a regular load. But whereas now it can be a case of we can get him in on the under the cooperation agreement thing, and we won't have to pay any wages or anything like that. That's one of the main positives, I suppose. I mean, it's like we're not forced to play them, that whole sort of thing. And also it doesn't like go into the SPFL allocation of 6 players that you can have in on loan. So
Yeah.
it was just a case of it's like reading the arguments that we got given, where it was a case of Barry Robson was for it, Potter was for it, the technical director and the board were for it. It was just a case of, well, might as well.
Yeah.
I know there's some people who aren't happy with that about the fact that it is with Rangers. Like if I had a choice, I would have gone with either Hearts or Hibs. I feel like they've got better youth prospects, like a better route through, and of course there's the whole idea of being linked with Rangers. I'm not a big fan of Rangers. We have history with Rangers, but it's just is what it is. You got to do what you got to do. Like as mentioned, Eric with Celtic. So if you're being
Mm.
offered the next best thing, then you got to take it. But yeah, it's like that St Johnstone situation with Hearts is quite funny. Although I will be very sad if Finlay Pollock appears in a St Johnstone shirt. I want him. I want him back. But speaking of St Johnstone, they have their Friday night game. It was an early potential title battle game against Ross County, and oh dear, oh dear, Ross County. This was not a good look for them. Like, it
No.
really was not. Like this, it was very much St Johnstone being in control of that game, and there were a couple of chances, but it's like I think watching the SPFL highlights because I didn't catch the first half, but watching the SPFL highlights, it's like in the first half they had one chance from County, and then the rest of it was just all St Johnstone, and it
Mm.
pretty much the same for the second half, aside from trying to think Henderson having a free shot in the box, but just hitting it straight to the goalkeeper, and then there was another one where a header going just wide, but oh, Uche manages to get a winner after Ross Laidlaw just comes out the box and just comes out of his goal and just completely messes the ball. So it's easy enough, and St Johnstone get the win. The full time boos were very much deserved. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, Kieran, what were your thoughts on the game?
I think you pretty much just nailed the head and nailed it on the head there with what I was going to say. Pretty much just echoing um, what you said there, Callum. It's not looking good for County at all, and Don Cowie in particular. Um, I pretty much I felt the first half there was no like St Johnson had all the pressure and the chances, but there wasn't any real cutting edge to it. I felt, but aye, to go 33 minutes at home without and sorry, making your first shot 33 minutes in is it's it's very telling of how they've started their season both in the League Cup and the League Two, dropping points to Airdrie on opening day, and then obviously it goes into your supposed um, title contenders and aye, Jay Henderson in the 74th minute just before St Johnstone go 1-0 up, and he's got to score that. But it's just straight. It's just straight at Laidlaw and no, it's no Laidlaw. Sorry, St Johnstone keeper. Aye, in fairness, that probably is the best chance of the game. But aye, he's got to score that. for Ayr last season. Is he scoring it? He probably is. He was fantastic for Ayr, I thought. I think he was probably one of the best players in the division. Jay Henderson, I thought he was fantastic last season for Ayr, and I, but I don't know how he's not scored that. And then obviously Uche scores 82nd minute, and you know Uche nearly makes it 2-0 4 minutes after. 4 minutes after that, Uche has a one on one, but it's one-on-one with the keeper. But aye, I think the keeper makes a good save. Laidlaw makes a good save, but I think overall St Johnstone did deserve the win. As you said, it was just all St Johnstone, and it's not looking good for County at the moment. And he's really not looking good for Cowie too, and he's definitely under serious pressure. Like County fans that I know and that I'm kind of close to and whatever, they want him gone now, and that's only 2 games in, which is not good. You know what I mean? Saying that, watch them beat us in the league on the 23rd. I think they play us. I
Aye,
watch
2
them
weeks
play.
time.
Watch them beat us up at Dingle, and that'll be him getting his season back on track because it always happens for us. It always happens against us. But if he wasn't under serious pressure before, he's surely under some serious pressure now.
Aye, because with that win, St Johnstone put themselves 5 points clear of County already, and
Hmm.
granted there is a long way to go, but
Hmm.
that's a pretty telling sign already for
Yeah.
a potential title contender. I was going to ask you about Don Kelly about whether or not you think he's in trouble now. It's like obviously they got relegated onto him, and
Mhm.
I respect Kelly for keeping him. I always like to see if someone's been relegated, and it's like if give them a chance to try and get the club back up. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's like as you mentioned about the League Cup, and then it's like last week they threw away a 2-goal lead against Airdrie, and then this week with that performance against St Johnstone, you're getting quite worried with how they've started, and it could be a case of it's still like 2-3 weeks left of the transfer window. So there's still the opportunity for Uncle Roy to throw more money at it, but if it keeps going like this, could be seeing Cowie gone by October. October's usually around about the time, at the end of the first quarter of the season that you'll see teams start to make a decision when it comes to their management. And right now, Cowie is very much on a shoogly peg. We'll put it that
Yeah,
way.
definitely. I mean, yeah, I think as well as that, he is well revered up at County as well. I'm pretty sure as a player certainly, and obviously he took um, he took he took charge. He took care of Ross County. Unfortunately, got them relegated down to the league and by the playoffs, and County have stuck by him, which that's fair enough. That kind of happened similar to us when we get relegated for the top flight in 2018-19. We stayed. We stayed with Archibald. There was a few people wanting him sacked after the playoffs, but Thistle kept their faith in him, especially after what he done, getting his promotion and all those years in the top flight. So aye, but sometimes these things just don't work out, and it's time it's time to get rid. And aye, it's not looking good for Cowie at the moment. They look incredibly, even in our League Cup game against them up at Dingwall, they looked toothless up front. They did not look good at all. Didn't look like a team that's just came down for the top flight. Um, and aye, it's not looking good for them at the moment. But as you said, it's only 2 games in. They might turn it around. You never know. But at the moment, I don't see it.
I was just about to say that 1920 season didn't exactly go well for Thistle either, so who knows? Ross County back-to-back relegation. But yeah, you were saying about County looking toothless. I just brought the stats up here. It's like over the course of the 90 minutes, County had 7 shots and 2 on target. St Johnstone had 18 shots, but only 3 on target. But then again, he also had 62% of the ball, which is enough to tell you how they were set up for that game. But yeah, it's like it does. It might look like St Johnstone are going to just run away with this. I mean, we were saying this of Enzo last week after the game against Partick Thistle, but it does feel like they do have the potential to do what Hearts did when they came down and got something daft like 90 points.
Yeah,
They might not quite get to that mark, but I can definitely. But they do seem just utterly relentless.
yeah, definitely. And I witnessed that firsthand last week as well. And I mean, definitely, I felt they were fantastic last week, and I don't necessarily think we were that bad. Um, but St Johnson, we just couldn't handle them. And I think a lot of teams are going to struggle against them this season. And if County's only managing 7 shots against them, 2 on target, and they're getting what 18, as you said, 18 shots on target. I think it's pretty telling. I think it already early days shows the gulf between the two teams.
Aye, so that's that top of the table clash covered, and onto one where people were thinking it would be a case of potential playoff opponents, where we've got Ayr United against Raith Rovers. I managed to make the trip down to Ayr, and it was worth it to say the least. But both sides were coming off of draws against teams who were expected to be at the bottom of the table, and it was a case of, okay, was this just a one-off or whatever? On Air's side, it really wasn't. Air were not good in this game, but yeah, it didn't start off too well for them. Air kick off and balls like playing around the back. Mitchell passes it out, comes back to him. He then passes it back out again, but it's intercepted by Easton, who from like 30, 35 yards manages to chip him. This has all happened in 30 seconds. It's like you can watch the highlights and you will still see Air fans coming in, coming in through the turnstiles. It's like I was caught off guard. I didn't actually see that Easton had like what Easton had actually properly done. I was talking to my brother next to me, and I turned around and I see Mitchell on like the edge of his box watching a ball go over the top of him. I'm just like, how? What? I don't think I've ever seen the Rovers score a goal in like 30 seconds into a game. But yeah, it was a great laugh. But then it's like after that, if it wasn't for Mitchell, funnily enough, it could have been 2 or 3. It really could have been 2 or 3 going into half time. Dylan Easton again with a free kick, which was well saved by Mitchell. It might have been hitting the post, or it might have been going like just in on the side of the post. It was a good effort from him. And then Josh Mullen with a volley which was dipping just under the bar. Mitchell did really well to save that. And again, there was towards the end of the half there was a penalty shout potentially for a foul on Sean Byrne. I don't think it's enough. I don't really think it. It's like obviously I was calling for it at the time, but it's like looking back, I'm just like, nah, that would be a bit soft. But second half. Now the thing is, it's like air that day. It was very windy. It was very windy, which when you stood next to where they've now got a burger van, so you can actually get food if you're in the way end this time around. Because last season that wasn't possible when I went.
For us, just to interrupt you, I'm pretty sure. I think the first time we went down there, we had to like go outside the ground. Last season, go outside the ground to a burger van, which was outside the turnstile. But now obviously they had that
They
in the
put the
playoffs
burger
as well.
van in.
Yeah, they've got the burger van in, thank God. Aye, quite a weird setup there, but I'm
It's like
glad
when I
they've.
went last season, it was a case of there was no food for away supporters, like none at
Yeah,
all. It's like, but eventually we got the stewards to let us go up the stairs at the side of the main stand to like go in
yeah.
and get stuff because like it was a hot day when we went, so it was just a
Mhm,
case of getting something to drink at least.
mhm.
But yeah, it's like where we were stood initially. It's like as much as they have improved the ground. It's like that bit has not been touched still, and it was basically just dust. It was not a fun place to stand. It's like I was straight into straight under the shelter. And then again, it was also raining as well. But yeah, it's like the elements definitely played a part in the second half because it was air did come into it a bit more, just with the fact that they were able to, like get the ball actually towards that end. But they didn't do much. They really didn't. Aside from like a fantastic double save from Ray, was there wasn't really a threat,
Mm-hmm.
which is weird to say about playing air at Somerset because last season they were borderline unbeatable at Somerset. It was a very very difficult place to go, but this time around it was like the Arbroath game where you're just like they're not doing anything. They just really weren't able to like get anything beyond like a half chance. Um, as the game wore on, the Rovers were able to start to hit back, get a couple of chances, but we weren't able to get anything. Probably the closest we came. Trying to think, Scott Brown had a shot which Mitchell again saved quite well. Richard Chin, who'd come on, he had a 1-on-1, but he tried to chip Mitchell again, but that just he sort of scuffed it. It went wide. But probably the closest other chance might have been when Josh Ray did basically the same thing as what Mitchell did, but instead of the air player actually being able to chip him, Richard Chin just like comes in and just a beautiful slide tackle, but then it falls to another air player. And then Montague comes in with another beautiful slide tackle. It was proper like hard hit as well. And then, but yeah, Rovers were able to hold out for a win. Richard Chin, I love him. I just want to see him start because he's just utter chaos. um,
So
just
overall,
the way he
Callum,
plays.
did you think you were deserved of the 3 points? I mean, looking back, I think I've pretty much I pretty much echo what you've said. The Rafekeeper, I felt I made a fantastic double save to deny. I think it was both Watford and Oakley in the second half. Like, Ayr certainly started off the brightest, but other than that, they don't look that. I don't think they look that good. And obviously we've got them next week as well. So I'll be interested to see how you felt they look. How you felt they looked.
Oh, yeah, it just did not look good. like I said, it was like the same as the Arbroath game. If I remember correctly, in that Arbroath game, they only had 3 shots, and it's like the one shot on target was their goal that came really early on.
Yeah.
And again, they just looked, as you were saying about Ross County, they just looked toothless. Is that they really didn't have much going forward in attack, and it also didn't help that we seemed to just it was like we completely dominated the midfield as well. To bring up the old football manager, the old ticket thing that comes up where it's just like we're overrunning them in the midfield. But it's like we did. And if there's one thing that I might say about Rafe is the fact that we possibly have the fittest team in the league. Because for that whole 90 minutes, we were utterly relentless. Like there were there was never any point where you could see someone was tired or whatever. It's like the only substitutions we made were trying to think. Easton came off for Chin, and I can't remember who Montague came on for. But yeah, it's like Scott Brown also came off like near the end, but that was just down to him getting a knock. But oh yeah, and Jack Hamilton came on as well. But it's like but it's like when those players came off, they did not look tired. Like they could have easily played longer, and it is interesting to see because it felt the same way against Queens Park the week before, where we just seemed utterly relentless, especially with creating chances. And it's like how that game finished 1-0. I don't know, but yeah, it's nice to get our first 3 points on the board. Air, I am slightly worried about my prediction about them. They're very much looking like the Air United side that they were towards the end of last season, where it just seemed to run out of steam and came and it's because like the first 2 thirds of the season they were title challengers, but for the last third they very much fell off and became a sort of
Mhm.
mid-table team. Once it became clear they weren't able to actually get a title, they were pretty much guaranteed third, and they just became a bit meh. And
Yeah.
yeah, they just, despite actually, like they got through their group. It's like they in the League Cup. They, as mentioned, they did put in like a really good performance against Arbroath, and then in the first league game, it was just awful. They were just awful, and it's like, okay, well that might be a one-off because it's at Gayfield. But then no, they were just they were just not
Still at
good.
home they were.
Even at home, they were just bad.
Yeah.
So,
Aye.
interesting to see.
Quietly confident for a game against them next week, I suppose. But you never know. I suppose it's a cup, but aye, definitely you were overall deserved of the 3 points in that game. I felt, Callum, just pretty much as you said.
I was very much a well-earned 3 points for us. Another team in Fife who also managed to get a well-earned 3 points was Dunfermline as they took on Airdrie. Going into this game, Dunfermline were looking to at least score a goal after their 0-0 draw against Morton. Airdrie hoping to kick on from their comeback against Ross County, which I gave my praises for, and also ridiculed County for as well, which very much deserving of. Um, it was a bit 50-50 ish for the first half, but I would say Dunfermline were definitely deserving of their lead. And the way they got their lead, John Todd starts with the ball at the halfway line, passes to someone, he quickly gets it back, and he just keeps going. And then he manages to like get past a couple, and then he's surrounded, but then he just wallops it into like the top corner or whatever. Really good goal, and it's hard to believe that he's an 18-year-old centre back. Like watching that goal, it looks like something
Absolutely.
Yaya Toure would have done. Just the way he waltzes through the team. And then his brother Andrew would get the second. So, you don't really see that often, brothers scoring for the same team in the same game. But Andrew's goal was just the ball just getting whipped in and the Airdrie defence just not existing, apparently. It's like the beginning of the highlight. I think it was Todd that won the ball initially when it was in the left corner. And I could only see like it's like there was a right back and then there was about like half the pitch until like the next defender. It was in the middle of the goal. It was like this huge gap, and I'm just like, what? what is being played here? What is the tactic here? It's like they clear the initial chance, but then it just comes back in, and Todd said to just put it away. And yeah, it's like second half was mostly done from as well. Edry didn't really threaten. But yeah, your thoughts on this game?
Pretty much again, as you said, that Callum, pretty much. Think as well, Dunfermline could have been easily could have had a goal or two before they got the lead, and Airdrie did have some chances, but nothing really came of it. And then, as you said, Dunfermline's first goal by John Todd was absolutely fantastic. A brilliant goal for John Todd. I didn't know he was a centre back, to be fair, so I think that makes it slightly even better than what the goal already was. Um, Absolutely fantastic and mental to believe he's only 18 and he's scoring goals like that. You know what I mean? And looks like a really good player for Dunfermline. And I only 18 too. Seems to get bag of potential. So um, Dunfermline will be excited to see how he progresses. But I deservedly Dunfermline were 2 goals up at half time. I don't think Airdrie could really grumble about that, and Airdrie just the amount of space they were leaving, as you said, in the midfield were quite bizarre, really. I think, and overall Dunfermline deserved the win. I felt second half again was all Dunfermline, not but there wasn't really much any cutting edge to their shots, really. And it was pretty much Dunfermline the whole game, really, and they deserved their 3 points.
I suppose there will be some concern from Airdrie fans and management when it comes to the fact that both the games so far this season have seen them go 2 goals down, and it's like you can't really keep doing that. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously they were able to get their comeback against Ross County, but didn't do it against Dunfermline, and
No.
yeah, that's got to be a worrying sign. Like as saying about the defense just seeming to fall asleep or whatever, they had a. It wasn't until like the final 2 or 3 games, I think it was last season. It wasn't until then that they didn't have the worst defense. It wasn't until then that I think Aki's took the accolade for having the worst defense.
Yeah.
Which, when we consider how bad Aki's were, it just tells you how bad
Mm-hmm.
that Airdrie defense was. So it does seem like
Definitely.
they've not quite solved those issues.
Mm-hmm. And I think that was a big, as well as last season, as we've kind of spoke to death about on this podcast. But besides injuries, there are main issues at the start of the season and why they were so bad and why they were so far adrift at the bottom until like Christmas, even after Christmas. Was because of the goals they were shipping and their defence just couldn't keep Wayne's at a close, you know what I mean? And they were just shipping goals in nobody's business. And again, they can't really afford to go 2-0 down every week. Fair enough. They got their comeback against Ross County and got their draw, but they didn't do it in Dunfermline next week, you know what I mean? And alarm bells have got to start ringing, you know what I mean? You can't keep shipping that amount of goals. That's conceded 4 goals in 2 games, and aye, not looking good defensively for Airdrie. And I mean, I suppose it's a draw and a loss, but didn't really look up to much on Saturday. And alarm bells have got to start ringing.
I suppose on the other side of things, Dunfermline, it might, keyword here is it might look like Neil Lennon has got something to work here. Were they were the fourth best second place team in the League Cup group. They've not conceded yet in the league. Yeah, they kept the fifth. They kept 2 clean sheets in a row now. I'm not sure what their record was in the League Cup because I don't care. They got knocked out anyway. But yeah, it does seem like they might finally have something for these lot, which is concerning considering the next game. But I'm sure Barry Robson's unbeaten run will continue. But yeah, your thoughts on Dunfermline and how they've started?
As you said, drew 0-0 up, drew 0-0 with Morton last week, and a pretty dire game of football, really, to be honest. As you and Enzo discussed last week, but they've bounced back. They've got their win. That's off the mark now. And it looks like Neil Lennon's really, got them fired up for now. And aye, they've they were unlucky to not progress through in the League Cup, but um, you'll probably say fucking get it up them. I don't care. You know what I mean, Cal?
Oh, I
But
do.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it seems that Neil Lennon's starting to get them going, and that's good. Or that's good for them. To be honest, but and fair Hearts fans kind of standpoint, long may it continue. You'd assume, but I just go back again to Airdrie. They just didn't look good at all, and like they're starting to worry. Like if you're an Airdrie fan, you certainly are starting to worry. But Dunfermline looked very impressive in that game, especially how they controlled the game, and Airdrie didn't really have any answer to it. And especially if they're producing quality goals that John Todd scored for the first, then they might not have so much to worry about this season.
Moving on, then we do go over to Hill, where a certain someone was at a football game. It was Thistle against Morton. Thistle coming off of an embarrassing to say the least, 5-1 defeat.
Yeah,
Whereas,
to say the least, to say the least.
to say the least, Morton had a 0-0 draw. So it's a case of one side looking to get off the mark when it comes to goals, and another team looking to get off the mark when it comes to points, seeing as you were the only team to lose last week. So
Aye,
I'll let you talk through this game then.
definitely. Getting into the game, we dropped like Sosa and we dropped Budanaukas as well, and a few people are saying it was harsh to drop Budanaukas, but I don't know. You can't really start after shipping five in the last game. You know what I mean? The opening game of the season, as we spoke about, and I, I'm kind of on the fence, but I could see why you dropped them. As you said, that you can't really start a keeper who just shipped five the week before. And we dropped like Sosa, brought in Stanley, and I will. I felt like Sosa's looked good in the League Cup, but in the league opening game, he looked. I was speaking to a Thistle fan, and they're pretty much saying that he looked like a lost boy against St Johnstone. So uh, Stanley, I felt had to start um, on Saturday, and he did. He did start on Saturday, and like Sosa gone to the bench. We were hoping to kind of, hopefully bring him on if he was needed. And I felt the game didn't really get going to just 33rd minute. The wind and the weather made it particularly difficult for both teams. For both teams, I felt to get going, similar to what you were saying with the Aaron kind of Rafe game as well, with the weather being a bit having a bit of a part to play probably for Ayers. Difficulty in getting going into the game down at Somerset, but Chalmers had a free kick in the 12th minute, about 22 yards out or something like that, for the byline. It just dipped over the bar, and then Morton take the lead, 33rd minute. Comes to Macbeth just fucking dicking about in the midfield and passed the ball to the Morton player, and then passed it to Alec Crawford, combined well with Ballantyne on the right hand side, and um, Ballantyne's cross in the byline was blocked, and Crawford then puts in the ball into the box, and Alec Crawford just simply slots it home. I felt it was a really well executed goal for Morton, capitalising on a mistake, and was well worked down the right hand side, but it's piss poor for us, really piss poor for us. First of all, just giving the ball away like that, losing possession so easily like that, and then it leading to the goal. And I Macbeth, he's normally fairly composed in the midfield, I feel, and I don't know what happened there, but he's just fucked it up. Just pure dicked about in the midfield, and I suppose Morton, one way you could look at that is they got lucky with how um, the ball kind of broke into the box, and for Al Crawford to slot home, but we can't be pissing about like that in midfield and giving the ball away so easily. Leads to them going 1-0 up, and then straight after that, Morton nearly scored twice, nearly go 2-0 up on both occasions, on two occasions, right at one after the other. The cross comes for Taylor and finds its way to Delaney. Just Clark gets a hand to it and to tip up into the air and then onto the bar, and it goes out for the corner. And then for that corner, Morton hit the bar, and then we finally scramble it out the box. And this 1 to 2 minutes is absolutely mental. It just shows how mad this league is, and how fast a game in the Scottish Championship can change. Morton nearly go 2-0 up, up one end, and we have a chance to go to take to equalise right up the other end. Ball breaks away for the corner. It goes to Tony Watt, who it's a lovely outside the boot pass to Chalmers, who's running onto the ball, and we find ourselves with a one-on-one, and Chalmers just puts it across the ball on his unfavoured right foot, and hits the post, just hits the post outside of the post, and the Morton keeper then gathers it easily. But it just shows how quickly a game can change in this league. But after Morton took the lead, I felt we kind of started to kick into gear a bit. But also we don't get a goal before half time, and fans are kind of a bit deflated because of it. And I be bring on like Sosa and Macbeth at half time, and I I felt as soon as they come on, they really changed things. I felt Macbeth kind of struggled in the first half, and obviously gives away the goal for Morton's lead, and pretty much makes an instant impact straight away. And I don't know if you've seen it, Callum. You probably have. You probably have seen Aidan whinging about it on Twitter about the penalty. Very dubious to say the least. Very, very dubious.
Very
If Aidan
dubious
was on
being
here, I'd
against
be
not a
trying my
penalty.
hardest to defend myself, saying it was a stone wall and they could have been killed. Like Sosa, but no, I think you've got to see, even as a Thistle fan, I've got to say it's very dubious. The Morton player wins the ball easily, and it should never have been a penalty. If that was given against Thistle, I'd be raging about it too. I'd be whinging about it on Twitter too. So
Absolutely.
I don't
Don't
blame
forget,
Aidan
like,
for
the other
feeling
three
incensed by it.
instances that Eden has put up on Twitter about
Yeah,
Morton not getting penalties or whatever, that sort of
yeah.
thing.
I bet the Morton player wins more than enough of the ball for it, and let Sosa does go down, and we get the penalty, which obviously as a Thistle fan I'm going to take, but very dubious. I mean, it did look worse, I think, for where but it's quite hard to see up there at the City end um, for where I am in the Jackie Osborne stand, but I like after it, even watching the Jag Zone highlights, even the commentators are like, "Why was that given? Like that shouldn't have been given." That's incredibly dubious, and like Morton kind of were hard done by, and I can completely understand why. And then obviously Chalmers, we get a penalty and Chalmers slots at home, sends the Morton keeper the wrong way, and that's us square back to 1-1. I think Morton then just after the equaliser, there are two corners, but nothing really comes to it. After Morton's second corner, we go on the break and Chalmers passes it, sends Fitzpatrick on a one-on-one, and I from the north stand, I felt Fitzpatrick had to burst in the net with it, and I was probably quite harsh on Fitzpatrick. I was like, why has he not scored that? He's got to be scoring that, But looking at the highlights, the Morton player does really well to get in and block him, and Morton get a goal kick from it. But it was a really good challenge for the Morton defender. Um, but O'Reilly then had a chance about 30 yards out, but it just goes past the post. But I thought it was in for an off stand. I thought I'd seen an absolute screamer. But I just puts it past the post. Morton possibly then have a penalty shout their own on the 83rd minute. But I thought George Clark got down to it well and smothered it well, and don't think there was anything much in it really. And overall, really, a point apiece, probably the fair result. Um, Despite both teams having chances of their own to win it, Morton had chances of their own to extend it, and we had chances to, I take the lead and from being one goal down. But I felt really flat after the game. I felt, especially after last week, you kind of wanted a bit of more of a reaction for the players. And yeah, we got a point. We're finally off the mark, I suppose. But these are our games we've got to win. Our games against Morton at home and games against Morton against general. Really, we've got to be winning them. And
We
um,
don't love hearing that.
yeah, but I especially at home. You know what I mean? We've got to be winning our games at home, and to come away for um, to drop points at home, it's a bit flat. You just the game. I think the game itself just fell a bit flat. But
I was
that's what
going
it
to
is,
say
I
is like,
suppose.
are there concerns of how you started, considering obviously you got the 5-1 defeat, but then with this one where it's like the only goal that you get, the only reason why, in fact, really you've got a point is through a very dubious penalties.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's like he's got through your League Cup group, but
Mm-hmm.
as we've seen before, League Cup doesn't really provide an indicator of how a season's going to go. So, are there any early worries?
I don't know really. I think it's early to say at the moment. I think everybody was kind of, me myself included, was kind of like, we got our hopes up after the League Cup performance. I thought we were absolutely saying that. We did only beat Stranraer and Queen of the South 2-0 at home. But I thought that even then, apart from the Stranraer one, I suppose was pretty flat.
You got
But
your
I thought we were
win up at
fantastic.
Dingwall.
Yeah,
Win
we
up
went
at
up to
Dingwall.
Dingwall. Yeah, we went up to Dingwall at the end of the game and battered them. Let's be real here, and played them off the park. And um, I thought we were well deserved of getting through the League Cup stage, and it kind of gave me a bit of hope going into the season. I put us third for that reason. Probably starting to regret my prediction now.
Very bottom at this rate.
Hey, you don't. Hey, come on. They're still fighting the old dog yet. You know what I mean? But well, I think it's just two games in. I don't think we can really um, see it and call anything as of yet. But I think if we don't start winning in the league, fair enough. I think um, getting through the cup at home against Ayr, if we lose that, and then go up to County and lose, I think doubts might start to creep in. Um, I'm still on the train of I'm still on the train of thought of giving Mark Wilson the backing. I think he deserves it. I think he's a really nice guy, and I think he comes across well in interviews and stuff like that. But in the league, especially, we need to start seeing results. We need to still start seeing that translate onto the pitch with the players and that. But aye, but see how it goes. I think there's a few already knicker waiters out there, doom and gloom merchants that are starting to worry. But I don't know. As I said, it's still early days. Still can't really call anything as of yet. But I think we're just taking things week by week, really. I suppose.
I suppose it is, as we say, it's 2 games in. There is still plenty of time for things to say. We can't really judge until like at a minimum 5 or 6 games in, when we're getting towards the end of the first quarter. Then we can be like, okay, this team's in trouble or whatever.
Yeah.
But I suppose we might as well move on to the final game. Queen's Park at home to Arbroath at a game which was by the looks of it, a near sellout at Leicester Hampden. If I remember correctly, had a look at a website to see what the average attendances were for whatever reason. I wanted to check last season's ones, but I believe going off of it, it might have been like 831 or something like that, which probably tells you that the capacity for Leicester Hampden is 900 at most, judging by the fact that you could probably count the empty seats on 2 hands. But yeah, it's like the first half, despite being quite end to end and a fair few good chances for both sides, that was 0-0 at half time, probably what people were outsiders were possibly expecting. But second half, oh no, oh no, Queen's Park. Enzo's probably glad that he's busy doing something else other than having to be on here listening to me telling his team a shite. But yeah,
I
that
wouldn't
did
get ahead of
not.
yourself there, Callum. He's on the Queen's Park podcast tonight, so that's why he's not on.
They're
And
having their group
he's
therapy session tonight.
yeah. I think
That's
that's
what it is.
I suppose that's
That's what I
as
always
a
labelled
slagging
the
match.
Rovers podcast as. It's a group therapy session for when you've been
Yeah.
shite at the weekend. But Yeah, so it was like the first goal that Arbroath get is a Ross Callaghan free kick, which manages to wrong foot Callum Ferry. Like he still gets a hand to it, but he just palms it into the bottom corner. That gives Arbroath a lead in the 50th minute. And seeing what Ferry does, I'm just, it's like watching it. I'm just like, where is this when he plays us? Because it's like last season the 4-0 defeat. He pulled off an absolute worldie of a save from a free kick, and I think he just hates us. I think he just hates us. And then I'll both get their second a few minutes later. BBC, for whatever reason, has this listed as being like a minute after the first goal, but then in the same match report it says a few minutes later, and then I probably should have double checked on like flash scores or whatever, but I didn't because that would be me being professional. But I'm just going to presume that it did happen a few minutes later. So if it's wrong, it's wrong. But yeah, it's like Queens are just messing about with the ball at the back, gets taken off a defender, and then ball's chipped in, and Finlay Marshall, free header in the middle of the box, gets into the back of the net, and it's 2-0 quite quickly. And then 15 minutes later, Jack Wilkie, another free kick that just, I've got no idea what Callum Ferry's doing. Like the ball, it's one that is like, it's like dinked in. It's like round the edge of the box as well. It's dinked in, so it's not going quickly, but it just doesn't hit anyone. And I think from watching behind the goal camera, for Ferry, it's a case of he's fully prepared for someone to like hit it to his left, but then again, it doesn't. It doesn't hit anyone. It just goes like just by him, and it's just like, again, where is this Callum Ferry when Rafe are playing against him? What sort of curse do we have?
Over Callum Ferry, your biggest hater.
I know. There can only be one Callum as a goalkeeper, and it shall be me. But Queens do get a goal back with Josh Fowler. It's a good finish, good turn and finish. But yeah, no, that was not good from Queens Park. And as we said in the pre-season one about how there were these off the field issues. In fact, I believe, I think it's like the club president left not long after the game, and a lot of Queens Park fans were quite happy about it. And when I went onto the BBC website for the match report for the game, it's like as I was going between articles, I'd seen that he had also left citing abuse or whatever. So yeah, Queens are. I was very much not impressed with them at Starks. It felt like they were playing for a draw. Like the moment they got that goal, and it just doesn't look good on or off the pitch.
No, absolutely not. I'm going to echo what you said, Cal. Going over, watching the highlights, and aye, fantastic win for Arbroath. You know, what I mean, they get their first win of the season, an emphatic one at that. 3-1, and they took their chances and some really, on the face of it, some really good goals, but questionable goalkeeping for Callum Ferry, and we feel sort of just having this same conversation again about how I think he's probably one of the most overrated keepers in the league, apart from when it comes to him playing against Rafe, albeit it seems. But he's had a few howlers, sorry, especially against us, and I what he's doing for the two goals and the defence as well for that second goal, just allowing that Arbroath player with that free header to score Arbroath second, and I got to say Queens Park's consolation goal was a really good finish, but ultimately wasn't enough, and absolutely Arbroath deserved their 3 points, deserved their win on Saturday, and alarm bells have got to be starting to ring for Queens Park. It's the same stuff as last season. And I should say as well with our club president just leaving right after that game, leaving the club right after that game, and certainly on and off the pitch matters. it's not looking very good for them at all. And Enzo, our thoughts and prayers are with you.
Something tells me Queen's Park might be getting the Callum Blythe YouTube channel treatment soon. But
As long as we don't fucking get it, that's all right.
as long as Reef don't get it, then you know
Would
something's
you
gone
do it? Would
terribly
you do it
wrong.
if Rafe got into the same situation?
I think people are praying for that at this point. Like the
Some
day I have
Fairmont
to do
fans and
that, it's
Falkirk
gonna.
fans, probably even some Dundee United fans as well.
I think just about every fan base will be praying for
Every
that.
fan you've given shit to, so I'm included in that as well.
It's like the amount of times I've been for the other clubs. It's like the moment it comes full circle to me. It's gonna be. Oh, it's going to be a great laugh. But I suppose you might as well talk about Arbroath. A pretty impressive start. As I said, it's like I thought they were very unlucky to not get a win against Ayr last week, and to get quite a convincing win over Queens Park this week. It's definitely proving our predictions wrong about them being towards the bottom end so far. You know, it's very impressive how they've started this. Your thoughts on Arbroath so far, then?
I pretty much, Callum, echoing what you're saying. I think they will take teams by surprise this season. I think they'll take points off majority of the league, even at Bayfield as well. I think it's notoriously a really tough place to go. Sorry, especially especially during the winter, where the wind is horrific. I've been there, January, and the wind is awful. It's the coldest. It's the coldest I've ever been at the football, and it's. Uh, the weather's right against you, and it's a tough place to go, and especially around about that time. And I think that's where we'll get most of our points for the league, and we've got Arbroath right. I think like 3 weeks before Christmas. Sorry, so that should be really fun. Not looking forward to it at all. I love Arbroath as a day out, but 3 weeks before December, I think I know how that's going to turn out. But Arbroath, as you said, just to echo what I said there, taking teams by surprise and very unlucky not to get a win against Ayr last week, and that's against a team that everybody's predicting to be up. I mean, I predict them to finish second for fuck's sake. Ayr, and I don't think I don't want to jinx it yet or whatever, but they're not looking the greatest. And Arbroath certainly seem to be surprising a few teams, and I think they will surprise a few teams this season. I think they'll finish. I think they could probably finish sixth or seventh. But again, as you know, it's early days. The arse might fall out of them. You never know. But I think a lot of teams kind of underestimate them a wee bit just because they've come straight back up for League One. I think people instantly think they struggle. Who knows? Who knows? But they're certainly starting really brightly so far.
I suppose with that, we might as well move on to how the table looks. St Johnstone, the only team with a 100% record to start off the season. They sit top with 6 points. And then it's a three-way tie for teams on 4 points, with second place being, as we've just mentioned, Arbroath. Imagine saying that before the season. Their top is they've scored 2 more goals in Dunfermline. Dunfermline are third, same goal difference, but they're the only team to have not conceded. So fair play on them for that. Rafe, meanwhile, we're sitting fourth. Fifth with the most Morton record so far of 2 games, 2 draws, and sitting fifth, as mentioned, Green at Morton. Ross County sitting a lowly 6th, not exactly how they wanted to start the season. Ayr United, again, they're 7th. Queen's Park sitting 8th, Airdrie 9th, and propping up the table, we have Partick Thistle getting their first point on the board. So well done, Kieran.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Um,
Cannot wait for League One next season.
we won't be back for next week because it is the League Cup. The championship teams, as mentioned, Partick Thistle play against Ayr in an all championship encounter. How are you looking forward to that one then? Seeing how the league's shaping up so far.
It's mental to say after a 5-1 defeat and a 1-1 draw at home to Morton, but quietly confident, I think. Ayr haven't looked the most impressive so far. This this season in the league anyway. I felt in the League Cup. I felt even against St Mirren, they actually didn't look that bad. I think that's why I put them as high as I did, going off how they've looked and how they've recruited. But in the league, certainly it's not looked the greatest. It's not looked the greatest. I think if it was down at Somerset, albeit you said they looked pretty poor even down at Somerset against your beloved Wraith on Saturday. But I felt, regardless, it's notorious. Despite how our record is down there, it may well be very good, but it's still notoriously a very tough place to go. So the fact it's at Firhill rather than Somerset,
I was about to
quietly
question you
confident.
for a second
Yeah,
there.
aye, quietly confident. But it's a League Cup game. Anything can happen. I would love to get through at the next round, quarter final. Hopefully, I wouldn't even be mad if we get through and get a money spinner. Away to Rangers or whatever, or Celtic. But I think just getting through the next stage is all that matters really. But I quietly confident it's a League Cup game. Anything can happen.
Recreate that image at Ibrox. But that's, of course, implying Rangers get past Alloa, which, considering how they've been playing, I won't be surprised if they don't. The only other championship representation is Morton, who are at home to Arbroath. Now, this could be an upset because Capello isn't exactly the easiest place to go, and
Is that Morton
Aberdeen have
against
not
Aberdeen? I
looked
think you
good.
said Morton Arbroath.
No, but it's like Aidan was saying in the group chat. He's quietly confident about Morton getting a result against Aberdeen, but I mean, like, I would be quietly confident about getting a result against Aberdeen,
Yeah,
partially
no,
through
we've
backing
not.
my old team, but also, but then again, like Arbroath, not Arbroath, Aberdeen, they they've not had an impressive start, and
Mm,
they'll be having, I believe they'll be starting their playoffs next week. Yeah, they will do because this was the second leg that Rangers were playing in tonight. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that one goes. But for the games that we will be covering in 2 weeks' time, it starts off with Friday night under the lights at Starks as Reef take on Dunfermline. Well, of course, I hope Dunfermline get absolutely pumped. If the reverse happens, do not expect to see me on the show. St Johnstone, meanwhile, they're at home to Arbroath. Kieran, you've got a trip away to Ross County, which, seeing how both team seasons have started, we'll see how that goes. Morton, they are at home to Ayr. Meanwhile, Airdrie are at home to Queen's Park. So that is it for this week's roundup. Again, as mentioned, League Cup this coming week, so no podcast next week, but we will be back for those fixtures at the end of August. I say at the end of August, there's another round of fixtures in August. 2 weeks' time. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. So, yeah, it's been good having you, and we'll see you next time.